EV charging stations under the new energy law to ensure safety and quality.
The sole purpose is to promote the efficient utilization of energy.
This is NBS Live at 9 with Sheila Dusime.
Once again, welcome to Live at 9 tonight. Let's get into the stories. Following the decision by the Alliance for National Transformation to formally express interest in joining the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue, some political party leaders say they have little confidence that the forum can deliver meaningful political reforms despite participation being a legal requirement for all parties represented in Parliament. The parties argue that since its formation, IPOD has largely failed to achieve its objectives and has instead been used by the ruling government to consolidate its grip on power. Opposition leaders are now mobilizing registered political parties to unite and pressure the IPOD Secretariat to fulfill its constitutional mandate.
The debate over the relevancy of the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue, commonly known as IPOD, has resurfaced after the Alliance for National Transformation formally wrote to the Secretariat seeking membership. ANC becomes the latest political party to express interest in joining the platform following the National Unity Platform's decision to participate during the build-up to the 2025-2026 general elections. Despite the move, some political actors remain skeptical about the effectiveness of the dialogue platform. The leader of opposition in Parliament and the National Unity Platform spokesperson, Joel Senyonyi, says IPOD has consistently failed to address key national concerns.
IPOD should not become like a talk show. You know, when you're in TV or radio and you're on a talk show, you go there, talk, finish the show. Maybe some people call in, finish the show, and everybody goes home. But the talking must be serious talking.
This General of the People's Front for Freedom, Harold Kaija, shares a similar concern, arguing that the institutionalization of IPOD through legislation came with obligations that have not been fully implemented. According to Kaija, political parties that subscribe to the platform were expected to receive government funding and engage in structured dialogue on critical national matters. Objectives, he says, remain largely unfulfilled.
You cannot sit all outside the compound of where the IPOD meeting is, or Senate, or Summit, and then you think that something tangible is going to come out in the interest of democracy. It can only come out if that is what Mr. Museveni wants to achieve.
As frustration grows among some members, opposition leaders say they are now mobilizing registered political parties to push for reforms within the organization and ensure it serves its intended purpose.
It is not going to be easy, but Ugandans as a whole, even those in the NRM, to work and end this captivity. Those who speak to Mr. Museveni must speak to him and tell him.
We hope that we can have a voice and speak in unison to say we must have better, we must improve our democratic credentials, we must improve the rule of law. Human rights violations have got no place in this day and era. It should be a voice for all parties, and again, not just those in IPOD, because IPOD is now for those that have representation in Parliament, but there are parties that may not necessarily have got MPs.
However, the IPOD Secretariat maintains that it has been operating within the framework of its guidelines and continues to facilitate dialogue among political actors as mandated.
We are simply following the process, one of which is the strong pillars of IPOD, that people should get into something they freely and deliberately understand. And that's the reason. NUP, we've for quite some time had their expression of interest. We have put in place a process of getting them admitted. In actual fact, it's a matter of time.
Political analysts have attributed the persistent absenteeism of members of parliament to the growing size of parliament, which they say limits opportunities for meaningful debate, as well as what they describe as the increasing tendency of the House to rubber stamp executive decisions. Despite earning substantial salaries and allowances, many MPs frequently miss sittings, prompting calls for the government to reduce the size of parliament and review some special interest group seats that critics argue have outlived their relevance.
Uganda's parliament has 529 legislators on paper, yet on many sitting days, the chamber tells a different story, with rows of empty green seats, sparse attendance and questions where the people's representatives are. This is despite MPs receiving monthly salaries and a range of allowances meant to facilitate their work in Parliament. For many observers, the persistent absenteeism has become a growing concern that must be dealt with in the 12th Parliament. Some former legislators point to the swelling size of Parliament itself. They argue that with hundreds of MPs competing for limited speaking time, many feel sidelined, making attendance less attractive and participation less meaningful.
You are given, is it 2-3 minutes? 2 minutes. Even before you have developed your argument, you are told to sit down.
Plenary, that's why I said plenary becomes a problem where you're trying to speak and you're given 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, you cannot say anything of substance.
A member of parliament will say, but now I am going there to contribute to what? The failure is the structure.
They note that much of Parliament's business is conducted through committees. However, they say even committee work has become congested, with some legislators struggling to find an opportunity to make their voices heard.
Opportunities now also to speak in committees. Some of the committees are becoming a bit too big. Even finding rooms to sit where you have 50, 40 people in a committee, it was also become a bit difficult.
Others see a deeper problem. They argue that Parliament has increasingly shifted from being a forum for debate and accountability to one increasingly rubber-stamping executive decisions, a trend they say discourages legislators from actively participating in proceedings because outcomes often appear predetermined.
The entire idea of having the nature of house we have, oversized, crowded, it's meant to house 180 people, now it has over close to 600. It's not a house where people, all of them have to be there to debate. You already got your check. I am a member of parliament. Your salary will come. You get your allowances, transport, fuel, and stuff like that. That's what you need to do. All right? But also understand that in that parliament, there's no decision-making that happens there.
Some observers believe absenteeism in the 11th Parliament was further fueled by dissatisfaction with the institution's leadership, with a number of MPs reportedly choosing absence as a form of silent protest.
She can't let me go to a trip. She can't let me go for oversight by my committee. She can't let me even talk. Then I stay away. But it was the worst Parliament, I think, ever in history. It was badly managed. It has a bad reputation. And I think my friend or both has a big task.
Analysts argue that meaningful reform will require difficult choices. Among the proposals being advanced are reducing the number of MPs, reviewing parliamentary salaries and benefits, and reassessing special interest group seats, which some believe no longer serve their original purpose.
Reduce the size of parliament. Abolish all interest groups, except persons with disabilities. We have to look at the emoluments of members of parliament.
In 2022, Parliament introduced the biometric clock-in machine to monitor members for absenteeism and late coming. According to Article 83 of the Constitution, a member of Parliament may lose his or her seat if she is absent from 15 sittings with permission of the Speaker of Parliament. It is, however, not clear whether the 12th Parliament will adopt similar measures to tackle absenteeism, given that there are already concerns about space in the chambers.
The government has announced a major austerity measure, saying it will no longer spend public money on organizing national celebrations such as Women's Day, Labor Day and Independence Day beginning next financial year. This according to the Permanent Secretary and Secretary to the Treasury, Dr. Ramadan Gobi, who is expected, and this is expected to save billions of shillings as they seek to redirect resources to priority sectors of the economy. Much as the move has been hailed by civil society budget policy analysts, these say the cost savings made may again be channeled to cater for the ballooning executive and commitment fees on loans taken but not utilized on government projects.
The government's latest austerity measure could mark the end of an era of elaborate state-funded national celebrations. The Permanent Secretary and the Secretary to Treasury, Dr. Ramadan Gobi, announced via the Minister of Finance's official X account that effective the financial year 2026-2027, government will stop spending money on organizing public functions associated with national holidays. Instead, President Yoweri Museveni will address the nation from the State House through radio and television broadcasts, while only limited number of religious functions will continue receiving government support. The decision comes against the backdrop of years of spending on official ceremonies and state functions. According to budget estimates from the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, allocations have broadly trended upward, with the financial year 2025-2026 providing approximately 24.7 billion shillings under the Office of the President vote for official ceremonies and state functions. Otherwise, for the financial year 2021-2022, approximately 16 billion shillings was spent. The financial year 2022-2023, 17 billion shillings was spent, and 18 billion shillings for the financial year 2023-2024, and for the financial year 2024-2025, 18.2 billion shillings. In total, more than 93 billion shillings have been spent on state functions, money that would otherwise be used for critical government expenditure. Civil society budget advocates have now welcomed the move, describing it as a logical continuation of the recent expenditure rationalization measures.
I think for me it is a question of our work towards ensuring that the budget is efficient, which means that you have better returns on where you are spending your money, but also is that we are spending on items that are critical for two things. One, improve the livelihood of Ugandans. And number two, ensuring that we have a sustained economic growth.
But this caution that the savings achieved could be relatively small compared to other expenditure pressures within the government.
But now we've recruited more. We have the assistant and deputy assistant RDCs. And these guys were not part of the 2026-2027 budget. So probably now the saving here is likely now to go and fund these ones.
This also insists that other recurrent expenditure continue to consume substantial public resources.
Expenses that we need to cut. For example, we spent 73 billion on commitment fees. Commitment fees is the money you pay, you are fined for not utilizing the loan you acquired. Can we be more efficient, deploy on time, money, but also ensure that we finish on time and also we finish on the budget? Because that's 73 billion could come back into our coffers.
This, as Uganda grapples with rising debt obligations, with domestic debt exceeding external debt. As of March 2026, external debt rose to 59 trillion shillings, approximately $15.7 billion, while domestic debt is at 73 trillion shillings.
Right now, for every 3 shillings of Ugandan we have, 1 shilling goes to debt servicing. That means we are putting the government on pressure to even borrow more, so that we can pay salary for teachers, pay for medicines, because now we have some items in the budget that are non-critical that we can forget about.
Analysts say that every shilling saved will matter.
Now, still on government efforts to cut unnecessary expenditure and save more money, we are joined by former Kira Municipality MP and Shadow Minister of Finance, Ibrahim Ssemujju, for his take on the latest decision. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, let's get into it. The government says scrapping public funding for Women's Day, Labour Day and Independence Day will save billions. In your experience, are these celebrations a major effort that drains the impact of the budget, or is this symbolic while the bigger leaks remain?
When I was making a response to next financial year's budget, we have about 8 trillion shilling that we are going to spend. 1 trillion on travel inland. We are going to spend about 300 billion on seminars. We are going to spend about 300 billion on special meals and drinks. So the total of all that money is 8 trillion. If you read the National Development Plan 4, National Planning Authority is telling you that 70% of our expenditures on public administration, because we are spending about 10 trillion salaries and then about 8 trillion on buying new vehicles, fuel, travel inland, travel abroad. So if you are going to spend 8 trillion shilling and then you are only stopping release of 24 billion, it is something very small, maybe symbolic as you have described it. But it is still welcome, and I hope we'll take that direction, not just stopping at public ceremonies and functions. Go to offices, stop provision of special meals and drinks, stop giving allowances to public officials when they go to do work. For example, if a public function is going to take place in Mbale, all the ministers, MPs and everybody at Parliament will be paid every night 400,000 for staying in a hotel. That's why in a year we spend about 1 trillion shilling on travel inland. So this is symbolic, it is welcome, but we need to also identify other unnecessary expenditure and stop it.
On the national events, where else do you see government doing wasteful expenditure right now? Which 2 to 3 areas should be targeted next if we are serious about saving more money as a country?
I have mentioned one already, provision of special meals and drinks. I have been an MP. MPs are fairly paid, but Parliament will give you breakfast. They will budget for it, whether you are, because I saw you, one of your stories, absenteeism in Parliament. Everybody is provided with lunch, whether you attend Parliament or not. We have MPs who will come to the canteen, have lunch, and don't even attend the plenary and walk away. That money, about 300 billion, must be stopped. For every government office you visit, you will find them providing free drinks and sometimes even meals. You have money for seminar, about 300 billion, maintenance of vehicles, buying of fuel. We have listed all these in our responses as opposition to the budget, and we will need to stop it because as civil society said, we are borrowing, sometimes borrowing to pay loans. So you can't continue like that. If you read the National Development Plan for National Planning Authority is telling you the reason its objective will not be met, it is because we don't have money to finance it, because a chunk of our money goes into public administration.
Civil society analysts warn the savings may just go to the ballooning executive and loan committee fees on unutilized projects. Do you trust that money saved from this move will be actually redirected to priority sectors with returns on investment, like maybe health, education or production?
Not necessarily, because you need to look at the budget itself. Last financial year, we had a budget of, I think, 82 trillion, but the actual money available for spending was about 70 trillion. So every year, when we do a budget of, say, 84 trillion, you will not have 15 trillion. So the actual money that we collect from taxes and borrow is not the total amount that we have budgeted for. So you may suppress spending on public ceremonies, but that money may not even be available because other items, look, this financial year, the Minister of Public Works, Katumba Amara, came to Parliament, and the suppliers, contractors, were demanding government about 1.6 trillion. So it's not necessarily, and it's not automatic that when they don't spend this money, they will spend on something. Sometimes we don't even have that money. So we'll need to do a lot of saving to be able to pay contractors, to be able to pay salaries. They may not switch this money to something else.
Now, in your opinion, is this move a genuine shift towards fiscal discipline or just a cost cutting in visible areas while systematic waste in procurement, travel and the executive continues unchecked?
The permanent secretary and secretary to the Treasury, when he was still in the private sector, is one of those professionals who proposed that we can reduce the budget by removing items that are not critical. When you join government, it's a different ball game, because people in government departments have already to redirect their minds. It's not easy. So I really hope this is not going to be the end. It's going to be a start, so that when a budget is presented, the next time government presents a budget, you will not have these uncritical items. Look, you have ministers now, each with 3 vehicles in a convoy. Vice President, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, someone, permanent secretary, directors, they stay here in Nigeria. He has the latest model of a Land Cruiser, and then you give him free fuel. You maintain the vehicle. If the vehicle grows old, sometimes at 5 years, you change it. So we can stop all this, and I can assure you we can spend those resources on public works, on education and health. Because in the budget, the National Curriculum Development Center wanted 6 billion for the new curriculum. Government did not provide that money. UNEB wanted 8 billion to train teachers who will mark the new syllabus. They didn't provide that money. And then people here, you have 24 billion for public ceremonies. In Tanzania, they have stopped. I think it's only independence sometimes that is celebrated. The rest of the function, there will be an address on TV. And Musa Museveni used to do this effectively during COVID. So I really hope this is not going to be a policy shift and not just a one-off, just to cause excitement.
Thank you very much, Honorable Semujunganda there, former MP Chair Municipality. Now, moving away from that, Karamoja is celebrating following the appointment of new ministers to oversee Karamoja affairs. Residents have welcomed the appointment of leaders from the region, but some say the ministry will only make meaningful impact if funding is increased to address the long-standing challenges.
Celebrations have been witnessed across the Karamoja sub-region following the appointment of John Baptist Loki as Cabinet Minister for Karamoja Affairs and Esther Anyekun Davinia as State Minister. Residents say the appointment of Karamoja natives to lead the ministry gives hope the local challenges will be better understood and addressed.
We are now happy that Dr. Loki, Honorable, has been appointed into this docket, because we know that he is a resident of this area, and we know that all the things that are meant for Karamoja will now flow in.
And also, Karamojong herself to be the State Minister for Karamoja Affairs. I think this time, since they know the area very well, they have really, and they know the problems of the Karamojong person.
The appointments come after Peter Lokeris and Florence Nambozo replaced former ministers Goreti Kitutu and Agnes Nandutu implicated in iron shits scandal.
These were day scholars. They would only come and see what is happening in Karamoja and go back. They would not reside here.
While many residents welcome the new appointments, leaders argue that the ministry may not achieve much unless government allocates more funding to tackle the region's deep-rooted development challenges.
A regional version of NDP4, they should push so that the ministry start to use it when they are drawing budgets, when they are drawing policies, when they are making legislation. Otherwise, if they don't become active, there's a risk of the Karamoja Regional Development Plan to be put aside and people start doing things the way they have been doing.
Residents have also cautioned the new ministers against corruption, urging them to restore public confidence in the ministry following the iron shits scandal. As he hands over office, Minister Peter Lokeris is remembered for his role in working with stakeholders to promote peace and stability in the region.
Now, Live at 9 takes a short break, and we'll be back with more stories.
And that's it for today.
until the next episode.
Like a daily bando, like a daily bando, like a daily bando. Omuliro nguwulira muli mu mutima kukankana like drums. Kalakata, kalakata, endungu ya kusabula. We gonna do free of fire, free of fire, free of fire.
Cooking all that makes food sweet. Tastes so good like mama's keys. Sweet Tamasana, yeah. Stir God, it's the oil you need for a tasty meal to live a healthy, happy life. Stir God, refined, fortified, blended pure vegetable cooking oil, second best to a mother's love.
In a fast-moving world, why are we still stuck with paperwork? Signing here, stamping there, moving from office to office. It's exhausting. Now, there's a better way. With UGPass, you can securely prove your identity, sign documents, and access government services anytime, anywhere. No delays, no stress. Everything is instant, safe, secure, and government-backed. UGPass, your identity secured. Available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. UGPass is a product of NITA Uganda.
Sorry, the number you have called is currently switched off. Please try again later.
The Kamani is not picking up my calls. He has now switched off his phone. He looked legit, so I paid him 500K to process my NSSF money. How dare you!
You will always know when you're in the presence of the finest. It's like time slows down, just enough for you to feel everything in full flavor.
Just Malt Lager. Alcohol is not for certain persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
There are many ways you can practice self-love or care. There's options. For me, it's I could read a book that's self-motivating and get me back on my square if I am not on my square, if I'm down. Meet up with friends that I know. Once I meet up with this person, I'm going to be so happy because they have this great energy. And surround yourself with really good energy. And then you will take a walk or go to a spa, get a massage. You know, sometimes your muscle, like, let me tell you, there's nothing that is as draining as having sore muscles. So if you could get that squared away, then I would advise anything that's really going to make you pause, shut out everything else, focus on yourself so you can, you know, reset, and it will actually help you go around whatever you're doing in a better way.
Welcome back. In other stories, the burden of heart disease in Uganda is steadily rising, with specialists warning that life Related conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke and heart attacks are increasingly affecting younger populations. According to the Uganda Heart Institute, 1 in every 4 adults is estimated to have high blood pressure, many without knowing it, yet health experts say most cardiovascular diseases can be prevented through early screening and simple lifestyle changes. Our health reporter, Henry Mugeji, sat down with Dr. Emmy Okello, the head of adult cardiology at Uganda Heart Institute, to discuss the growing threat and what Ugandans can do to protect their hearts.
Very good evening to you who's watching us. My name is Henry Mugeji. Today I come to you differently because I am on a different setup, and to tell you where I am, I'm at the Uganda Heart Institute, and joining me this evening is none other than Dr. Okello. Emmy. Doctor, a very good evening. How are you? How is it? How is the Uganda Heart Institute?
Good evening, viewers. Good evening, Henry. Thank you for coming back and to have this conversation. The Uganda Heart Institute is great. We're serving the nation, trying to help as many people as possible.
Heart conditions are becoming a public health concern out there. The fact that we're seeing very many people testing. You're the experts. What is the burden of heart conditions in this land?
Yeah, so 2 things are happening. One is that we've always had some form of heart disease, but the numbers are going up because of the changes in the environment, the changes in the way in which people develop disease. Previously, we had mainly infectious diseases or diseases that spread from one person to another, you know, like malaria, like tuberculosis, like HIV. But now we have the diseases that, you know, just develop in your body due to certain risks. And here we're talking about high blood pressure, we're talking about diabetes, we're talking about different kinds of heart disease like heart attack and heart failure. The other thing is that our ability to diagnose heart disease has also improved. We have better equipment, we are better trained as health workers. Actually, the level of training of health workers in the cardiovascular field is the same, you know, in Uganda as you would find anywhere in East Africa and indeed around the world. So the ability to diagnose and treat heart disease has improved, much as the number of people with heart disease has also gone up compared to what we had 20, 30 years ago.
If you're to put it in figures, where do we stand as of now?
Children below 5 years, usually it's estimated that 1%, 1 in 100 of children who are born in a certain population. So if you look at our population of 45 million, about 1 out of 100 will have some kind of heart disease that they're born with. So below 5 years, that's what you'll find. When you go above 5, between 5 and 15 years, you still have some children with heart disease that they're born with, but then you have those ones who are starting to develop diseases that develop because they've had infections of the throat that ends up affecting the heart valves. We call that rheumatic heart disease. So in that age group, you have both children with heart defects that they're born with, but also rheumatic heart disease. As you go above 15, you're reaching the 20s, high blood pressure starts to come in. You know, 10, 15 years ago, you'd have high blood pressure affecting people over 40. Now we find 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds. And the reason is because the children, our children are getting obese. There's a lot of overweight issues. Those are lifestyle issues. So you find a 20-year-old, you know, is really heavily obese, and that then results in high blood pressure prematurely. And then you carry on, later on such a person may develop diabetes, and then they develop other complications, including stroke, including heart attack, including heart failure. So very, very important that you ask that question. But in terms of the numbers, the most important for us to remember is that high blood pressure, which is a main risk factor, is like the major driver of most heart diseases, is the most common. And we have research showing that 1 in 4, so if you're 4 people seated somewhere, 1 of you has high blood pressure. And unfortunately, very few people know that they have high blood pressure. The thing with high blood pressure is that when it starts, you won't know. It doesn't cause pain. So we call it a silent killer, actually, because when it shows up, when it starts causing swelling of your feet, starts causing symptoms, by that time it has caused some damage in your body that you may not know. So it's very, very important for you, as I know you're going to ask me, how do you know that you have high blood pressure? for you to measure and know your blood pressure. When you have an opportunity, when you hear there's a camp, when you go to a health facility, please make sure. When you escort someone to hospital, I'm interested in the person who has escorted the patient. You will think you're not sick, please make sure you measure your blood pressure. That's the beginning point usually, and you'll find, you'll get surprised that something is there. And then the other, heart diseases really depend on the blood pressure problem. So as a country, if we can screen people who have high blood pressure and treat them and prevent more people from developing high blood pressure, we'll have significantly controlled heart disease in general.
What is the capacity of this institute really to take care of people, the 45 million people that we have in this land?
This theater where we're seated is called a cath lab. Cath lab is very advanced. It's the epitome of cardiovascular medicine. It's a very advanced theater that uses this. If you can look this side, you have these X-ray cameras that beam into the body and show us precisely where we are. And we're able to access your heart through blood vessels in your hand or in your groin, and we're able to unblock a blocked heart artery. We're able to place advanced heart devices in your heart, including pacemakers, including ICDs. If your heart is misbehaving, it's beating irregularly, you can place an ICD pacemaker in there that will shock your heart and gets it back to normal instead of you collapsing and dying. So over time, we've built capacity to handle prevention of heart disease, to make sure people who already have some form of heart disease remain where they are or get back to normal, and to treat people with advanced heart disease, and to make sure that we reduce referrals abroad. Previously, remember 10, 15 years, people would be in the papers every week trying to access care out. We still have people going, but it's substantially reduced. Maybe just 5 to 10% of people still go. The majority, the 90% of the 45 million Ugandans are now treated here because we have the capacity. And again, government is building a 250-bed national heart hospital, which is going to be the largest heart hospital in East and Central Africa. It's over there in Naguru. And all this is to make sure that we're able to do research, we're able to train more heart disease workers, we're able to treat more patients, you have more space, whether you are coming to screen yourself, whether you're coming to seek treatment, whether you're coming for surgery in a cath lab theater like where we're seated, or you're going for open heart surgery theater, which is across the world, the other side. You should be able to access this as Ugandans, and government is doing that. And our role as the Uganda Heart Institute is to lead that effort, and so far it's working very well.
So far it is working very well. Doctor, you talked about the capacity that you have. Like, how many are you? People in your circle or people in your profession, like how many are you in this country?
We used to be like 6 cardiologists and 2 cardiac surgeons. Now we are about 50 cardiologists. That is the pediatric cardiologists and the adult ones like me, and the cardiac surgeons and the adults and the pediatric ones. Over time, most of us initially had to travel abroad to go and train, in the US and other places. But now we're able to train fully here in Uganda because we have all the equipment, and that has helped a lot with the capacity building.
Looking at my heart, basically my heart, how best do I take care of my heart well, such that I do not really fall a victim of high blood pressure or anything else?
So there are about 7 steps that the American Heart Association, which we work closely with, recommends. Used to be called the Life's 7 steps. Now I think they've changed it to 8. Number 1 is what we eat. Our food in Uganda is very healthy. We have matoke, we have kalo, we have cassava. These are very healthy foods. And then you want to have vegetables in your diet. You want to have legumes like beans and green peas that we have. And then some of the animal proteins that we have. Beef once in a while, fish, chicken without the skin are very healthy foods. If they're not processed, that is, if this food is cooked at home, why do we worry about food? Because number 1, if you eat food that is processed, that food that is highly processed will have a lot of salt and have a lot of fat, and that fat can contribute to fat in your body, and salt contributes to high blood pressure or even a heart attack in some people, because blood becomes sticky because of the fat, and then there's narrowing of the blood vessels. So very important to watch what we eat. It sounds simple, but we encourage people to avoid processed foods. And then number 2, to stay away from direct sugars. If you can reduce sugar in your diet, we already have sugar in most of what we eat, most of the food we eat and drink, and that usually that sugar is sufficient. But you know, we're used usually from school that you have to put so many tablespoonfuls of sugar in your drink. The problem with that is that it knocks out your pancreas, which produces the hormone insulin that regulates our blood sugar. When you do that, you over time knock off the pancreas, and that's how young people, many young people are developing diabetes. Number 2 is to exercise. Please exercise minimum 30 minutes every day for 5 days. That means 150 minutes a week or 1.5 hours. Okay? Well, I think it comes about 2.5 hours, yes. But 150 minutes or at least 30 minutes every day. And walk. They're not saying you should go and lift weights in the gym. Just walk. Walk, initially walk slowly. The next time, walk quickly and sweat. When you sweat, you lose salt in your sweat, and that helps to reduce your blood pressure, and that helps to regulate the body better. Your pressure stays down. The body functions better. Number 3, avoid smoking. Okay? Because smoking, cigarette doesn't have, the nicotine in cigarette just damages the body. There's no benefit. It puts you at risk of lung cancer, but also damages the lining of the blood vessels. So it puts you at risk of stroke and heart attack.
I've had a conversation with my family at home about sugar, and they're telling me that subject sugar and honey. Among these two, is it right for me to drop sugar and use honey, or to drop honey and use sugar? And if I'm using sugar, how moderate should it be?
Okay, so so honey is natural. Honey has natural sugar, just like the processed sugar that we have, the crystal sugar. But the crystal sugar, when it goes to the body, it is broken down to products that are dangerous. Okay? It's breakdown product. Number 1, I said it knocks down your pancreas. Then number 2, when it's broken down, the products are dangerous to the body. Honey is healthy. The breakdown product of the sugar in honey is healthy. The problem with honey is that it has a lot of calories and doesn't help you with weight. But in terms of choosing between honey and crystal sugar, honey is definitely better. But over time, if you're struggling with weight, then you also want to reduce. If you can use 1 teaspoonful of honey, or maximum 2. The problem is that because honey is not as sweet as crystal sugar, people tend to put so many teaspoonfuls, and then it defeats the purpose. Then you are having the same effect as when you are trying to, go away from crystal sugar. So, but what we're advising, especially if you're over 30, over 40, because children, especially below 20 who are at school, run around, they take their sugar, but they run around. We still want to control, but children are okay. The problem is, as you get older, you're not able to break down all these sugars, and then it becomes problematic. So if you can eventually wean yourself off sugar, crystal sugar, and move away from adding sugar in your tea, and then eventually move away from sugary drinks, then you're in a good path, because over time your body adapts and starts using sugar from the other foods that we usually get in our diet.
The conversation around heart health, or how best you can really take care of your heart, is not a conversation that we can only have in just a few minutes. This is a conversation that continues together with us here at the Ghana Heart Institute, with us as NBS, but also you as you seek this information from your healthcare providers, from the hospital that you go to, like Dr. said, you that escorts the patient that you're taking to hospital. When did you last check for your heart health? That's it from me. Back to you at the Political Command Center. My name is Henry Mugenyi.
Thank you very much, Henry, for that insightful interview. Away from matters health, as scrutiny of President Yoweri Museveni's newly appointed cabinet intensifies, a legal debate has emerged over whether individuals holding dual citizenship can lawfully occupy ministerial office in Uganda, while the constitution and citizenship laws permit Ugandans to acquire a second nationality. Legal experts argue that restrictions remain on certain high-ranking public officers, citing concerns over allegiance and national interest. The discussion discussion has been thrust into the spotlight by questions surrounding some of the president's nominees, including State Minister-designate for Internal Affairs, Professor Lawrence Muganga, who insists that Ugandans in the diaspora should not be denied the opportunity to serve their country.
Questions surrounding the eligibility of dual citizens to serve in cabinet have resurfaced following President Yoweri Museveni's recent appointment of ministers. While Uganda recognizes dual citizenship under Articles 13, 14 and 15 of the Constitution, as well as the Citizenship and Immigration Control Act, legal experts say the law places restrictions on holders of certain public offices. According to legal experts, the Constitution and related laws permit Ugandans to acquire and retain their nationality. However, they argue that offices deemed critical to national governance and security, including cabinet positions, remain restricted because of concerns relating to allegiance and national interest.
It's purely unconstitutional. It's purely illegal. The Constitution provides that government or parliament will make a law to prescribe how people who hold which offices should be held by people with dual citizenship.
And the fifth schedule lists those particular positions, among which are the ministers and cabinet ministers. Sorry, cabinet ministers and state ministers. They cannot become, they cannot hold those offices unless they are fully Ugandans.
The lawyers contend that restrictions are intended to ensure that holders of sensitive offices owe their loyalty solely to Uganda. They add that a person seeking to occupy a restricted office may be required to renounce foreign citizenship unless Parliament amends the existing legal framework to expressly allow dual citizens to hold such positions.
When you have dual citizenship, you have double loyalty. Your loyalty is to both countries where you're a citizen. So if Uganda goes into a diplomatic spat or a war with that country, where would your allegiance be?
The legal debate has gained prominence following allegations that some of the president's ministerial appointees are holding dual citizenship. Among those whose citizenship status has attracted public attention is State Minister-designate for Internal Affairs, Professor Lawrence Muganga. Professor Muganga says the debate should not overshadow the contribution of Ugandans living and working abroad. He argues that many Ugandans acquire foreign citizenship while pursuing education, employment and economic opportunities overseas, but continue to contribute significantly to the country's development through remittances, investments and skills transfer.
A dilemma now comes, which is really disheartening, that such people, when they return home, now they are classified as second-class what? Citizens.
Despite the ongoing debate, Professor Muganga says his focus remains on serving Uganda. He notes that should Parliament approve his appointment, he will work to implement government programs and support the President's vision through the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
Now, residents of Nyakachwamba Parish in Ntara Sub-County, Chitagwenda District have raised concerns over the increasing insecurity in their area, blaming the situation on the absence of a nearby police post. The residents say the lack of security presence has fueled rampant theft of livestock and coffee, leaving many families counting losses and living in fear.
In 2019, President Yoweri Museveni directed the implementation of the sub-county policing model aimed at ensuring every sub-county, municipality and town council operates as a police station. The directive was reinforced through an executive order issued in 2023 requiring every designated sub-county to be equipped with police personnel, motorcycles and communication tools to improve rural security and response time. But despite this, the directive is yet to be enforced. According to the residents of Nyakachwamba Parish, there is no single police post, forcing residents to travel nearly 15 kilometers to access police services. The area local council one chairperson, Ben Twesige, says insecurity has negatively affected business operations in the area, with some traders abandoning the sub-county and relocating to safer trading centers. The Ntara sub-county chairperson Moshbia Mkama Mikidadi also acknowledges the security challenges attributing them to the lack of a police station within the sub-county.
We don't have the police post in the whole sub-county, and the directive of the president was saying every sub-county must be having a police.
Byamukama reveals that local leaders have on several occasions requested for a police post, adding that the sub-county already has land and a building ready to accommodate police officers, but their efforts have not yet yielded results.
Actually, we have 3 places. We told them to come and choose one of them. They come and they don't give the feedback and
The Kitagwenda Resident District Commissioner, Isaiah Byarugaba Kanyamahane, admits that the sub-county deserves a police post considering its size and growing population. However, he cited inadequate manpower within the police force.
But the challenge that we have is the shortage of manpower. But they promised us that during the pass out of police trainees that are undergoing training around August, they might consider us. It's when we are considering Tara among many sub-counties that lack the police post.
Residents are now calling upon the government and security authorities to urgently operationalize a police post in Ntara sub-county before the situation worsens.
More to come, brought to you by
Blended pure vegetable cooking oil, second best to a mother's love.
Now, when we come back, we'll be looking at life in the quiet hills of Rampara district that has been changed with the Smart Community Program. That story will be coming up after the break. Live at 9 takes another short break. We'll be coming back with more stories, including business and sports.
If whiskey could talk, Johnny Walker Black Label would sing. With notes that only come with 12 years in a barrel. Sweet, smooth toffee, rich fruit, and a touch of smoke. Tastes as good as it sounds.
Masaka juu. Omonzi tumuleta soka Christopher Katama owulira otya kati nti owangu de
ndi musanyufu nnyo tewali muzadde ayinza obutasanyuka nga bamusasulidde omwaka mulamba, so nebaza nnyo MTN okulaba nti mpangudde, era nkubiriza abazadde mwena abali eyo nyiga *165 *880# naawe oyinza okubeera omu mu baki mu bawanguzi.
And for those of you who pay school fees at those schools that don't use Momo, hey, mubatabukire mubagambe leta Momo wano, because you stand a chance to win a van for the school. This is the power of Momo.
There's only one Vinny J.
Football is better with Pepsi. Pepsi, thirsty for more.
Your dog gives you their whole heart, so protect theirs with Sweeko Dog Insurance, because every slobbery kiss and happy tail wag deserves a lifetime of care. From accidents to illnesses, we're here to help. Statewide Insurance Company, protecting your family one paw at a time. For more details, visit www.sweeko.co.ug. Statewide Insurance Company is regulated by the Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda.
June is Budget Month, a defining moment for Uganda's economy. Under the theme, For Monetization of Uganda's Economy, the 2026-2026.
Looking for a vacation of a lifetime? Cross the equator and discover Pineapple Bay Resort.
Enjoy exceptional life's luxuries. Spend quality time with family, friends, or even that special someone. Get in touch with nature with our range of outdoor activities. The calming tranquility of water, breathtaking views, moving memories around campfires. It's all here. Plus, a club experience like no other at Pineapple Bay Clubhouse. It's a whole vibe. You can hire any of our 3 VIP cruise boats for groups of 10, 14, or 25 people. Or you can cruise out with swag on a luxury yacht for 12 people. Our premium boats are all safety compliant. Make your next vacay an all-round experience at Pineapple Bay, located on Bulago Island, right in the midst of Lake Victoria. Talk to us today. Better study tips. Scammers often pose as friends or family to gain your trust. Always verify requests for money or personal data, even if they seem urgent. A quick call to the person or company claiming to contact you can save you from falling victim to this deceit. In partnership with Uganda Communications Commission and NBS. Did you know? Brought to you by
Fake spare parts can be deceiving. They seem cheaper, they seem good enough, they get you moving for now. But what you don't see is the hidden cost. Damage to your car, endless repairs, wasted time off the road, and potential risk to lives. In the long run, fake parts cost you more. Choose genuine parts from any CFA or mobility location countrywide.
Did you know? Brought to you by
In more news, legal practitioners and analysts have expressed doubt about the judiciary's readiness to transition to a paperless system following Chief Justice Flavian Nzeja's directive. Now, while they acknowledge the intended benefits, they warn that it could negatively affect private litigants and further complicate access to justice.
In an administrative circular issued on February 17, 2026, Chief Justice Flavian Nzeja directed all judicial officers, court staff, advocates, and court users to comply with a new digital regime that will render courts paperless effective June 1st, 2026, a date that falls this Monday. Some legal practitioners have since argued that despite the directive's good intentions, insufficient sensitization and training have been conducted to ensure a smooth transition.
I think the decision and the direction of the Chief Justice in this regard is a little bit rushed. I think we would have gone paperless at a point where maybe 50% of the districts in the country are so far on that system. Maybe we should have gone paperless at least at a point where 75% of the districts in the country are paperless, at least all high courts and a big number of magistrate courts.
Similarly, while speaking at a recent event, Supreme Court Justice Monica Kariejira Mugenyi also expressed concerns about the implementation of the paperless court system.
It is inevitably going to be a gradual process. I don't think we can necessarily say on this day all ECMIS courts will be ready, but it is a nice aspiration to work towards.
With approximately 49 courts currently operating the electronic court case management information system, which is expected to facilitate the transition, some analysts believe that the shift has not been adequately planned. Others accuse the judiciary of rushing implementation merely to fulfill a target rather than ensuring genuine preparedness. The Vice President of the Uganda Law Society, Anthony Asimwe, has called for a phased-out rollout of the initiative, arguing that illiterate and digitally disadvantaged private litigants risk being locked out of the justice system, worsening Uganda's already significant access to justice challenges.
Now think of this person who is coming to stand surety for their son, who has been brought to court. and you're saying that you must upload these documents online. This woman has come from Chana Mukaka or from Masaka deep down, and all she has is her national ID and an LC letter, and you're telling her, because you've not been able to download or to upload these documents online on the system, we cannot hear you.
Although the judiciary has established support kiosks at various courts to assist with document filing and other clerical processes, Asimwe contends that these facilities are already overstretched. He further notes that the ECMIS platform remains unreliable, often forcing lawyers to wait until late at night to upload documents.
Have Ugandans been sensitized enough, for example, to tell them on TV, on radio, even down there, that you see, if you come to court, there's a kiosk and there are about 5 people who will assist you. You come with ABCD, they will assist you, upload for you your documents on the system, or they will help you create ABCD. So that's why we're saying that you do not just rush into.
Speaking in a phone interview, Judiciary Public Relations Officer Irene Moanda acknowledges that the transition to a paperless system requires phased implementation and continuous improvements. However, he maintained that the judiciary is ready to implement the Chief Justice's directive.
We have stations that have already been onboarded onto ECMIS, and we expect that all those courts which are already on ECMIS should be able to proceed with a paperless revolution. Where we haven't yet reached in terms of technology and equipment, we shall continue in the normal manner, but as we proceed to plan.
Now, Uganda is seeing more girls enroll and stay in school than boys, according to the latest Uganda Bureau of Statistics report. The data shows the gender gap in classroom continues to widen in favor of girls, while boys' attendance and retention rates lag behind. Let's take a look at those numbers. Now, the number of learners in secondary schools by sex, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics report shows male enrollment in schools stands at 938. 278. The figure highlights the growing gender gap as it trails behind female attendance and raises concerns about boys dropping out or staying out of class. Now, looking at the female enrollment in Ugandan schools, which stands at 1,069,855, according to the latest Uganda Bureau of Statistics report. The figure shows girls now make the majority of students in classrooms, reflecting gains from programs targeting retention and access for girls. Now, this is out of a total national enrollment of 2,008,133 learners across the country. It means females now constitute 53.3% of students in school, giving them a slight majority over the male learners. Now, moving on, Kasese municipal authorities have issued a fresh directive requiring homeowners to install rainwater harvesting systems in compliance with the National Building Standards Code 2019. The move follows growing concerns over increased stormwater runoff blamed for worsening roads, expanding gullies, and damaging infrastructure across the municipality.
For years, the rainy season in Kasese has increasingly become a source of concern for residents and authorities alike. Beyond the floods that often disrupt transport and business activities, heavy rains have left behind deep gullies, destroyed roads, weakened bridges, and threatened homes in several parts of the town. The situation has forced government and local authorities to spend huge sums of money on rehabilitation works, including the reconstruction of roads, drainage channels, and gully restoration projects aimed at protecting communities from further destruction.
For the Chalima Valley, drainage valley, it requires a separate budget according to the engineers because it is huge, deep and long. And last time they were estimating it to be at 15 billion shillings. And if you went there now after this rainy season, I'm telling you it will be at around 20 billion shillings.
Municipal officials say one of the major contributors to the problem is the growing volume of stormwater runoff from rooftops.
With the growing population in the municipality, we have everyone putting up a house, and we realize that most of them are not bothered about the storm water or the water that falls from their roof. And in such a way, this water finds itself along the roads, breaking them, along the gullies, deepening and widening them. And we have a lot of erosion which is going on in the town.
It is against this background that Kasese municipality has intensified enforcement of the Green Building Code by directing all property owners to install running water harvesting systems on their houses before the end of August 2026.
Every building should have a provision for rainwater harvesting.
Under Section 183, Subsection 7 of the National Building Standards Codes 2019, every house owner or occupant is required to install a rainwater harvesting system for storage and underground recharge. Residents have now been urged to comply with a stipulated time frame, short of which could fall for minimum force.
Now, life in the quiet hills of Rampara district was once defined by low incomes, limited opportunities, and the heavy burden of providing for children. Farmers battled poor yields, youth faced unemployment, and households could barely afford basics. But hope is now taking root in the same hills.
In the quiet hills of Rampara district, life was not always as hopeful as it seems today for many families. Each day began with uncertainty, low incomes, limited opportunities, and heavy burden of providing for their children.
As a school, we have less enrollment. There is a lot of school dropout around. The causes are many. Unsensitized parents, that is one of the most causes of the school dropout. Poverty is also a problem. Much as the school is a government-aided school, parents are not sensitized. So they need more sensitization to know the qualities and the use of education to their pupils. As a school, we also have a challenge of less funds, because when you look at the structures, the buildings, we don't have enough buildings. Most of our classrooms are unplastered, unfloored. They are open, they are not closed. No windows, no doors.
Livelihoods depended on small, unreliable sources of income. Farmers struggled with low productivity. Youth lacked employment, and many households could barely afford basic needs like food, education, and healthcare. Driven by compassion and a commitment to community transformation, Salam Charity recognized the urgent need to uplift these families, and it stepped up to make a difference. With its partners from Sri Lanka, the Smart Community Program was born. First introduced in Uganda 6 months ago from Sri Lanka, the program is guided by the chairman, Muhammad Nawash, who trusted Salam Charity to lead its implementation. Rampara district was selected as the model district.
After reading the literature of Smart Community Program, which you have been sending to us, we said that our concentration will be Islamic education, digital literacy, and socio-economic empowerment. They have got enough space. They only lack knowledge, they lack direction, they lack mobilization. So that's why we came to these people. They have at least ample land, which we can use, and they are very flexible.
We came here because of a Smart Community Program to introduce almost, you are working in the program, but we have some experience in the working with the community and some villages. So I think it will be very more useful to share with you also. Maybe you can get some more learnings from that. It is context of the Uganda.
The visit to Uganda is to share our experience with you all and learn from you all, to see what we can do the best for the people, those who are in the need, to make their lives safe and improved with all concerns.
Similar in spirit to the government's parish development model, the Smart Community Program places stronger emphasis on structured support and financial management. The program began across 4 selected mosques out of 11 in the district, organizing families into groups of 10 to to better coordinate shared needs and priorities.
We are rounding up 10 families in issues to do with economic empowerment, health, education, and other social amenities.
The program provided seed funding and guidance while identifying skills within households and offering targeted training.
Nimbanza kushaba ba members bantu tubanze tutere director Kalisa omushomo guyatushomesa waza gushoma no shomesa millions and millions of kandi twakutungira busha.
Many projects like goat rearing, poultry farming, bricklaying, beekeeping and even soap making were carefully supported to ensure growth and sustainability.
Alamu charity bajako wano bandambulanga ina obuzi bubiri baranga baino kunsupport baganda supporting nenzuguramu embuzi 20 nakamala omwezi nganzirabirira nezirabika bulungi saba Allah anteremu baraka zifunemu sente insha Allah.
Ebizobina linina bya kitundu kyempangaliramu n'ekifo kye savingiramu abantu emmere naye kati bwe bajja ne basala mu kutuwa ku buyambi njagala kusanyuka nnyo obuyambi bwe batuwa nga bulungi nnyo okwongereza ku kizimbe kyange ekyenkoleramu kyenfumbiramu emmere y'abantu kirongoke.
Omulimu gwaffe ogusingira ddala obunene kwe kulaba nti tusangwa families biki bye bakola ffe ne tuyambako.
This was not just aid, it was an investment in potential. And slowly, change began to take shape. Homes that once struggled began to stabilize. Families started earning steady incomes. Children who dropped out of school found their way back to classrooms. Confidence grew and hope returned.
Nali nina ekiralo ky'ente n'embuzi ng'ente weesula nga si walungi naye kati we tutuuse eri bulungi weeri kati walungi n'embuzi n'ekiralo ky'embuzi nakyo weekiri kwegamba buli kimu kyeyongedde okubeera nga kinyirira.
Matafali wiwawe twali tukola naye nga tanuulu oluusi njo kyayo katono nga naye lwe mwajja ne mutwongeramu capital alhamdulillah ekintu kitambula kiri bulungi buli omuntu walina akasente katono nga tekamala kati netwongera ku bakozi ensonga lwaki kati ogenda okwesanga mu mwezi nga oyokezaamu amatafaali emitwalo 3 n'okusobamu.
What once seemed impossible became achievable through hard work, determination, and right support. Today, the Smart Community Program stands as a testament to what happens when communities are empowered.
Kwebaza bakadde baffe abasala mu charity abasobodde okutwala obuvunaanyizibwa nga bakulemberwa mukadde waffe Sheikh Kalisa ensi yonna emumanyi naye omulimu agukoze kubanga essaawa eno ali mu birombe eyo wansi munda. Nebaza mukadde waffe mukulu oba Honorable Amos Kankunda kubanga eyatuyunga ku bakulu bano nabo ne batuyunga ku balala nga byonna Allah yabikoze.
Project zetusinza okuteekamu amaanyi project ey'omubisi gw'enjuki tutajetinga okulaba nti mu myezi gino 3 tufunayo families 10 nga buli family esobola okuba nti ehandolinga ebiyumba by'enjuki 200. Tugenze mu matofaali mu Western mu Ankole ekitundu ekisinga okukola blocks ezisinga okulabika obulungi kyekitundu kye Rwampala wano we wava ettofaali ery'ebbumba. Katugenze nga tutajetinga twagala mu myezi 6 nga tulina families 10 ekigenderwa kyaffe okuwa abaana emirimu. Twabasanze nga bafulumya blocks amatofaali buli mwezi wakati wa 8 n'omutwalo gumu n'ekitundu. Tajeti yaffe yakubatuusa ku mitwalo 5 mu myezi gino 6 egisooka.
It's a story of resilience, a story of transformation, and a reminder that lasting change begins when people are given an opportunity to rise.
We call upon each and everyone to embrace the Smart Community Program, which we feel that it is the only and the biggest solution for our country, Uganda.
The purpose of the Smart Community Program is to uplift, empower, and transform lives, turning potential into prosperity. Smart Community Program, empowering families, transforming communities.
Business Pulse, brought to you by
In business tonight, the government is preparing regulations that will require all electric vehicle charging stations in Uganda to be licensed and permitted under the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. Officials in the Ministry of Energy describe the move as a major step towards formalizing the country's fast-growing e-mobility sector. The new framework, once finalized, will introduce mandatory approvals for all charging infrastructure operators as authorities move to regulate safety standards, system quality, and user protection in the emerging electric transport ecosystem.
First, to reduce reliance on imported fuel and lower electricity costs for consumers, the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act is now in force. The Act sets the legal framework for standards, audits and penalties with intention to cut energy waste and promote sustainable use across industries, buildings and transport. However, the Acting Assistant Commissioner for Energy Efficiency and Conservation at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, David Birimumaso, says full implementation remains pending.
The Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, the sole purpose is to promote the efficient utilization of energy in the country, and one way of using energy efficiently is the adoption of electric mobility.
Stakeholders say the delay has left companies and regulators unsure about how the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Law will be applied on the ground. They are now calling for targeted tax relief, affordable electricity tariffs, and faster rollout of charging infrastructure to make electric transport commercially viable.
At Green Hub, we're also the only asset financer that has a buyer's license requirement. And that is something that we know in Uganda is extremely expensive. It can come up to even $200. So that is something that we would like to see support from the government to see how we can reduce those costs.
The Regional Director of LM International, Christopher Sacco, warns that policy decisions in the sector must be carefully assessed to avoid undermining livelihoods, particularly for border riders who form a significant part of Uganda's transport economy.
We see a big gap when it comes to the job opportunities, and we also see a lot of opportunities that are there, but people only need somebody to actually push towards the right direction.
So we want to support that as government, and we are going to do that. It addresses the environmental implications and impacts. It also creates jobs, especially for women.
Still in business, the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board has urged young people to focus on income-generating activities instead of gambling, citing rising addiction levels among the youth. The Chief Executive Officer of the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board, Dennis Mudene, says gambling should be treated as entertainment only and encourage young people to invest time in ventures like agriculture that create long-term income.
Gaming, betting is purely entertainment. It is never a money-making venture. So we urge people to only bet with what they can afford to lose. They should never go to betting thinking they are out there to make money. No. You will not make money the way you think. So we appeal to them to go and focus on agriculture. Yes, I mean, the president has been time and again demonstrating the 4-acre model and those initiatives that are a sure deal. Those are the sure deals that will bring money, and then after you've made some money and you want to go out and have fun, then you can use what is not going to pain you or hurt you, and you bet on Arsenal against Man U. Just like all other African countries, the trend we are seeing is the future of gaming is becoming more and more sophisticated, is technology-led, and as the gaming board, we are not seated. One, we are automating all our processes, right from licensing, compliance and monitoring, enforcement, complaints handling. We are doing automation, and we've automated quite a number of our systems, and most especially on monitoring the transactions, or what we call monitoring the significant events that do happen on gaming platforms. So we are seeing a lot of innovation around gaming.